Hello, good morning, and a very warm welcome to our webinar this morning on smart manufacturing with digital transformation. And boy, do we have an impressive lineup for you this morning. First up, we'll have IMR's Commercial Director, Nick Rowe. Nick has worked in industry for over 25 years in both engineering and commercial roles. He holds an engineering degree from Queen's University Belfast, an MBA from UCD, along with Lean Six Sigma and project management certifications. Nick will be setting the digital transformation scene for us before welcoming in John Carmody, who will be talking us through his experience in bringing Boston Scientific through their digital transformation journey. John is a senior manager at Boston Scientific and has over 20 years of experience in manufacturing and management with roles across multiple functions. He is named on 4 patents and has won several innovation awards, and he currently works in the automation and digitalization team and is the global lead for Boston Scientific's Connected Factory program. So it's wonderful to have him here to share all of his experience with us. Gael Beaulieu will then come in to delve further into digital transformation and go through some of his experiences of working with companies through their transformation journeys. Gael is a senior digital transformation advisor and certified SIRI Assessor at IMR, with over 34 years of experience in manufacturing across MNCs and SMEs. His experience is at local and global level and includes TPM with expertise across 3 building blocks: process, technology, and organization. We're also honoured to have Helen Burke, Vice President of IDA Ireland, joining us. Helen has responsibility for driving transformation and innovation across the IDA client portfolio. Her role involves working on a consultancy level to identify strategic solutions, resulting in increased innovation, digitalization, and talent development. She is currently based in Ireland, but prior to this worked in New York, Frankfurt, and Paris with responsibility for securing employment-intensive investment for Ireland. She speaks fluent French and German, but I think we'll keep it at just English for this morning, or else I know that I'll be lost. If you have any questions for any of our speakers throughout the presentations, please use the Q&A function on the bottom of your screen and we will get to them at the end. But for now, first up, I'm going to bring in Nick Rowe. Welcome, Nick. Take it away.
Thank you, Gary. Welcome, everybody, to this webinar. So let me start. Digital transformation and the challenges. So digital transformation can mean many things to many people. Here at IMR, we specialize in demystifying new and emerging technologies, de-risking, coming up with contingencies, and then looking at delivering value to our customers. Before we start in, I'd like to take a quick look at what is happening really on the supply chain as a cornerstone of Ireland's economy. If we look at manufacturing, it's almost 30% of our GDP in Ireland, implying over 220,000 people with an export surplus of over 200 billion, which is a significant impact on our economy. Take just a broader look at Ireland's digital economy, ranked 6th among 27 EU member states, 5 EDIHs, IMR running one of them, over 8,000 ICT graduates, an expanding national broadband plan, and a digital adoption improving by IMD. Although 17th place, we are on the upturn. All sounds extremely good. And if we combine that with a GDP per capita of number 2, and also a GNI taking away foreign direct investment, we're in the top 4, which sounds like a great platform to expand. However, if we look at the wins that are coming, we can see infrastructure and housing, which is a significant impediment to growth within Ireland. And this was commented by Pricewaterhouse Quarterly Economic in Q1 of this year, and also Central Bank, where they see infrastructure as being a real impediment to further growth within Ireland. We know that from trade tensions with the US there's a lot of speculation as to where that will go. Really good to see, the start of a 90-day pause with China. However, we're still awaiting how the EU and US trade will emerge. For global competition, Ireland, as an small open economy, we are 5 times above the OECD average on internal foreign direct investment, which means that we're significantly impacted by anything that happens in the economy. talent shortages. Although we want to build them, we need to build them faster. And the projection is that we will need 40,000 ICT graduates coming into the workforce over the next 4 to 5 years. From a regulatory and tax, often one of the bedrocks of growth within Ireland, we've seen harmonisation for companies over 750 million turnover. And this has happened from last year. So our competitiveness with the strong headwinds, we are challenged. If I take a closer look at the cost basis, Ireland is among the second most expensive in the EU, right? From a salary perspective, we are top four or sixth highest salary worldwide. If we combine these together, we see that reducing cost, which is sticky, either from your direct materials or your headcount, it's difficult to move those costs. Improvement in efficiency, whether it's from your Lean Six Sigma journey, that's something every company should be doing and should be doing without any hesitation, right? Increasing productivity is the next place that we can look at reducing cost. However, we see Ireland on the right-hand side is well below the world average and also well below the EU average. So from an overall perspective, we're lagging on the ability to be able to increase productivity through automation. So if we look at our challenges, most businesses face a disconnected systems, processes that are manual, slow, have not been automated, not really having a plan around the digital priorities. Where do I start? What investments do I make? And looking at a skills gap where we either don't have the right skills that we need to attract in, or we have a demographic that is aging and people are retiring. To deliver the right solution, what we need to do is look at a digital roadmap that makes sense from a customer perspective, that gives direction and allows us to measure where we want to go. Also, we need to have a return on investment, not only in the medium term, but also we need to have short-term return on investment. And that drives momentum when we want to go through a digital transformation journey. Digital processes need to be compliant. So we need to have compliance, particularly if we're in regulated industries, be that food, pharma, medical device, we need to move away from paper-based processes. And also our data needs to be available to us. The right person at the right time needs to be able to see the data that they can influence. And this drives the sustainability in what we're in a digital transformation. I now want to hand over to John Carmody, who will give us the practical application at Boston Scientific in Cork. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'm going to take you through some of our thoughts, experiences, our lessons learned on our digital transformation journey, and take you through the what, the why, the who, the how, and thankfully, it mirrors a lot of what Nick has said already in his themes. So first up, what I'd like to do is I'd like to make sure that you take away from this that at the core of this is how the IMR and the SIRI process help not only in just speeding up our internal conversations on digital transformation, but also in the actions that we're now taking to make meaningful and tangible impacts to the business. So our starting point here, as Nick kind of said, is, around digital transformation, two words that, 94% of of businesses say is critical to what they're doing. But interestingly, if you ask people what it means, you'll actually get a number of different definitions. And that's actually echoed in surveys whereby 54% of employees either don't understand or misinterpret its meaning. And so it's very hard to get alignment on action from that position. So the first thing you have to do is spend time making sure that everyone's trained and brought up to a certain level of it. And I suppose I distill it down personally in that, my learning is digital is about the technology, even the stuff that hasn't been created yet. And the transformation is about the people, the processes, the practices, the behaviors, what people do in their day to day. It's our culture. Both need to be delivered for success. The why, well, I could say because we told our shareholders that we're doing it. But if I steal Darwin's quote, it's not about the strongest of the species that survives, but it's the one that's best able to adapt or adjust best to the changing environment. And following on from our SIRI workshop with the directors and senior management, we now have a better understanding of the rate of change that's happening. And there's genuine belief that this isn't a buzzword or a fad, but it's actually one of our pathways for Corp to be successful in meeting our business goals. So one of the obvious questions then that kind of follows on from that is, well, what's the technology to invest in? And really, that's not the question. The question is around, how we developed through the SIRI and through the IMR our foundational knowledge, so that we can better appreciate the breadth of technology that's available and getting developed. And as I already said, the rate of change means technology that was once way out there can suddenly become available and affordable very quickly. The whole ChatGPT and Copilot are recent open AI examples of this. And to steal this quote that's attributed to Einstein, now it's debatable whether he said it, but the point is that no one is going to know everything or be aware of everything. And that's not the right approach either. The learning for us is that you're unlikely to have all the resources to go out and look and track everything from an academic and best practice perspective. So it's really about making ourselves more open to collaboration, both internally and externally. And for us, that's regionally and globally with other Boston Scientific sites, and also with strong partners like the IMR. So the SIRI process facilitated a comprehensive assessment of our existing processes, technologies, and workforce capabilities. That enabled us to gauge a clear starting point. And because it delivered a report, that report actually helped us understand and benchmark our organizational digital maturity. So it became paving the way for identifying tailored digital transformations. The other key point for us was that the sponsors and using the IMR, we were actually de-risking our journey and avoiding any internal biases or preferences that we might have. So Gail's approach was very coach-like in that it gave people and the senior team time to reflect and be honest about our current state, which is actually really crucial for buy-in and ownership of this as a program. The output, well, I suppose we developed a clearer vision, and now that helps act as our North Star in our digital transformation journey, outlining our desired state. And this helped create our vision and our mission statements, really our foundations on what we're going to do on a daily basis for the next few years. We have simplified the wording for various audiences, but it stems from this point. Moving to our strategy and the actual tangibles that we will hold ourselves accountable for, the business KPIs that we agreed and that we need and will improve in quality, cost, and delivery, and then understanding and prioritizing key digital initiatives. So following on from the SIRI feedback, we actually launched a digital champion program using department reps in helping identify pain points and opportunities, identifying the mundane, repetitive, predictive, error-prone, and non-value add work that's been performed, mapping out the tools and data and actions, and then starting to look at opportunities to actually deliver those. So huge amounts has actually been done in this space, from small quick wins to significant regional alignment projects. And what I would say is that the appetite is there from people to actually become digital champions. And we're even looking at a program around a citizen developer approach. So Rome wasn't built in a day, and creating a roadmap serves as a guiding document that outlines the timeline, milestones, and key deliverables for key transformation. And it helps you track through your progress and enables us to stay focused on strategic objectives throughout the process. I've got 2 screenshots down at the bottom. Some of it is actually on key programs that we're now running and key names, but I think it's the practice and the behavior that I kind of want to outline here. The resource allocation, effective resource allocation is key to ensuring that you have the right personnel, technology, and budget for that effort, and prioritizing those investments based upon the benefits. So it was mentioned about the ROI. And this is key because a lot of people I have found seem to look at digital transformation as an addition that you can do. Clearly, it's not. If it's going to be transformation and not incremental, you actually need to put effort and resources behind it. With that in mind, like any change that you're going to have, there's a bit of resistance. It's natural reaction to change or when you're doing something new. Obviously, engaging stakeholders, employees early and having transparent communication can significantly reduce that resistance. But the analogy that I'm using here is the flywheel. In that you have to give it the right amount of energy at the start to overcome inertia to get it up to speed. Just nudging it or expecting it to happen won't work. And for us, the SIRI and IMR activity partnership helped give that starting energy that got us on the program. Clearly, there's a lot of barriers and enablers that need to be looked at, and the process with Gael helped identify those and how we were going to work them. So I suppose what I'd like to do is just distill down some of the learnings and do some call outs. There's a lot more in this, but I don't have the time to go through it all. But digital transformation is not just about technology adoption. It's coupled with cultural and organizational changes. I didn't dive into it, but it's covered in the SIRI program. But at the core of digital is technology, and at the core of technology is data. The SIRI framework really helped to show how you could actually use data vertically and horizontally across technologies, and how that in turn opens up new business opportunities. Clearly, you don't automate bad processes. You look to simplify and standardize first. You look at partners that will help you get there faster. And for us, IMR and Gael specifically have been great enablers in that space. Finally, I suppose the other thing that goes with it is sponsorship and stakeholders. And I can't reinforce this enough because having them involved at the start and having them participate in this as a program and immerse themselves in the workshop was really important, because involving them was critical to identifying and getting the resources and support for this as a program for Cork and also regionally. So with that, I'd like to hand over to Gael from the IMR.
Thank you, John. This is a great presentation. Digital transformation journey. At the start, we ask you to define, using one or two words, digital transformation, what it means for you. We saw in the chat digital transformation mean different things for different people. So across the plus 420 leaders that work with us in the last 4 years, continuous improvement has been a driver. They want to know how digital transformation can further enhance continuous improvement. And one of the main reasons is that they have implemented lean approach and have been very successful. So here's my first point. When you decide to start your digital transformation journey, you are making a strategic decision to transform the way you do things. This is not a lean journey, even though there are some elements of it. It is more than just looking at your process. It is also looking at the organization and the technology. And John touched base a little bit on that. For your organization, we are looking at your people, your culture, the skill set required to support the new technology. On the technology side, we're looking at your level of automation, connectivity, and intelligence. Another common mistake that companies make is that they want to jump straight into the solution, like AI today. So when IMR look at digital transformation, we put the process on the organization first. Technology come last. You must address your process on your organization gap before bringing any technology. Failing to do so will lead you to digitization and digitalization waste. Now, for some of you who may not know the difference between digitization and digitalization, simply digitization is converting analog to digital, right? Let's say you want to scan your inspection spreadsheet into a PDF. That's digitization. Digitalization is about using the technology to digitalize your process, like implementing a control documentation management system. Now, digital transformation brings a lot of value, as we discover with Nick on John's presentation, but it's not without challenges. So let's look at in more detail at what the challenges may be. And we IMR select 7 of it. Legacy system and infrastructure. You may have a strategy to integrate your shop floor with your enterprise, or I should say, integrate your OT with your IT. This is called vertical integration. However, outdated technology are hard to integrate due to the incompatible architecture with modern technology. And by the way, for those who haven't heard the term before, OT, it's operation technology. And this is the equipment that you have on your shop floor, for example. Secondly, change management on culture. Cultural resistance can delay or block digital progress. The fear of change, the lack of trust in the new technology, or I should say the lack of understanding the benefit for the end user. Skill gap, lack of internal digital skill require training or hiring. So finding the right talent brings its own challenges, as you know. This one is an interesting one. Cost on ROI uncertainty. High upfront cost with unclear short-term ROI, especially if your investment was based on soft saving, such as grow rather than hard saving, let's say headcount reduction. Cybersecurity on risk. You are now connecting more and more OT equipment into your OT network and therefore becoming a more data-driven company. You are increasing the exposure of data breach and cyber threat. Data overload on management is another major challenge using a large volume of data. This requires the data governance strategy. A lot of companies struggle with that. Finally, leadership on strategy alignment, and John touched a lot on that, but let me put my own stamp here. Without leadership support, digital initiative often fail. This is about acknowledging that leaders across the organization have to gain a new competency to drive Industry 4.0 innovation. And I mean every leader across the organization. Leader competency dimension should not be just for IT, OT, engineering, or analytic team. Leader from the supply chain, the finance, HR, L&D should also develop the competency of digital ready and drive innovation within their team. As I mentioned previously, it is a culture shift. Like lean, like project management or other, digital transformation need to be part of your DNA if you want to be truly successful. So on that note, let's look at how IMR can help you with your digital transformation journey. The approach that we use with our client is a 3-phase. We strategize, we implement, and we optimize. Or I will say, we plan, we do, and we scale. Simplistically, phase 1, the strategize phase, we help aligning the key stakeholder. We help you to understand your level of maturity and formulate a roadmap. The implementation phase, we activate your strategy through a proof of concept, and we co-develop a real solution with your team. We show impact. At the optimize phase, we are not done yet. We help you to accelerate the impact. Now, let's concentrate on phase one. So phase one consists of five main steps. We help you to assess your level of maturity and formulate a strategic roadmap on one. However, in order to convert a strategy roadmap into a technical roadmap, you need to understand your end-to-end process. With the tool that we develop in AMR, we help you with your process map and we help you to overlay a digital heat map. We then analyze the gap, the digital gap, and make recommendation. So in that sense, this is a clear path. It is a confident plan. I will say it is your first high impact digital project ready to launch. Moving to digital maturity assessment, it is the first step in any digital transformation journey because it established a baseline, and John talked about it again. It identifies gap on the opportunity. It aligns strategy with your business goal. And you can believe it or not, but 70% of the company who their digital transformation journey without started their digital transformation journey without assessing their operation. And of course, they have failed to deliver impact. And that is according to McKinsey. So here we have an assessment tool that we use, and it's known as SIRI, Smart Industry Readiness Index. It is the world's first independent framework for assessing digital maturity in manufacturing. It was developed with the support of the World Economic Forum and used by industry leaders around the globe. The importance of using an independent like AMR is that the assessment is more objective, more accurate, and bring more credibility. I will add it is carried out by a specialized knowledge and experience, a certified SIRI Assessor. And by the way, there is only 2 certified SIRI Assessor practitioners today in the country, and they both work for AMR. Another important point is that we are agnostic. We are not here to sell you any specific solution. Like John mentioned, it is a well-structured approach. Here we are looking at the tier framework. There is 4 parameters, T, I, E, R. The T is the today state. We start by mapping your current industry 4 maturity across 16 dimensions of your operation. It is not an audit, it is your assessment, guided by a certified SIRI Assessor. I, impact to bottom line. We look at your cost profile, and from there, we will prioritize the action that will generate the biggest financial return. E, essential to the objective, right? We help the leader team to align on the set of 5 KPI amongst 14 that we have presented. Thus, we can ensure the action align with your business goal. Or relative position. We are providing you with 2 benchmarks. We show you how your organization stands relative to the top and the bottom performer. And the result is a practical objective strategic roadmap, framing the foundation of your digital transformation. This is an impact-led approach, and it is not a technology-led approach. In the eyes of, so it has opened the eyes of all the leaders that came out from the workshop. And again, John mentioned that, and it's truly an eye-opener. In addition to Boston Scientific use case that John presented, we wanted to share with you 2 more examples of a successful digital transformation. Boosting productivity, we AMR develop and implement an analytic application to address quality inspection, which was a paper-based. The numbers speak by themselves, 2.3 million increase in revenue. The second example was about addressing maintenance costs. We IMR deployed an IIoT platform to enable the company to become more predictive. Again, the numbers speak by themselves. So, as I mentioned in a previous slide, we understand your problem statement and we deliver impact. So, we share at the glance what we can do. However, IMR can do far more with you. Our work center on 3 strategic pillars: building capability, driving innovation, and scaling through meaningful partnership. We begin with helping you building capability. We offer hands-on training and provide specialized consultancy. Whether you are refining your operation, navigating culture change, identifying tech opportunity, or even if you want us to be part of your digital steering committee. Next, we drive innovation. Remember, we are a research organization specialized across 5 thematics: advanced robotic and automation, design for manufacturing, including subtract manufacturing, digitalization, sustainability, and innovation. We deliver collaborative research. We are here to help you prove, implement, scale technology with commercial relevance. Finally, we help you connect and scale. As a leader in national and European innovation program, we provide direct link to funding. We act as a trusted advisor and delivery partner, ensuring that you never innovate in isolation. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to the Vice President of the IDA Ireland, Ellen Burke, who will further talk about the IDA funding and the support. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Gail. Thank you so much to the IMR for inviting me to come here this morning to speak to you. As Gail mentioned, my name is Helen Burke and I am Head of Digitalization at IDA. And this morning I have 10 slides to present to you. Really at that point, then I'm going to hand back to Nick for closing remarks. So before I go into the details of the actual supports, the digitalization supports that IDA has available for companies who are interested in a digital transformation program, I'd like to set the scene for just a little bit. So IDA launched its latest strategy in January and in a kind of prophetic way called out how the need to adapt to shifting global events has been kind of a hallmark of our success in the past. And we all know that now more than ever is this true. And we know the direction of travel is one of change, but it can be also one of opportunity. And so you've heard John and Gail talk about the opportunities, especially John for Boston Scientific, if we adapt intelligently. And that's the title of our strategy. And it clearly aims to strengthen our core FDI assets, which are multinational companies in Ireland. And we really want these companies to deepen, to scale, and to add to the base that is already here. So for the purposes of today's webinar, I'm going to focus on 2 key objectives of the strategy. The first one is looking at strengthening long-term investment. And to do this, we're going to help FDI clients, so international clients in Ireland, transform their operations. So we heard the word transformation this morning, digital transformation. And really that's kind of becoming more competitive, more productive, really adding to the parent company's bottom line. So we're also going to drive sustainable change. And this will be brought about by embracing the whole areas of digitalization and AI. So these really are kind of key to the success of our client base in Ireland as we see it. We know this takes a lot of time and obviously a lot of money. So in that regard, part of our strategy here, we have actually stated our commitment to improving our financial supports, and that's why I'm here to talk to you. That includes responding to changes in EU state aid, which, you know, is quite a momentous task. And then that's all about enhancing our offerings to our client base. And really, I suppose that's what I'm going to go through now in the next few slides. So we have a brand new grant. We're calling it the Business Development Programme. It is, I suppose that's the kind of the background, and this is newly launched, newly enhanced, and it is, the purpose is very clear. It is about, it covers the cost of consultants. It doesn't cover materials, it doesn't cover licenses, it doesn't cover travel or anything. It covers the cost of the consultants to actually employ an expert to come in and do what the IMR was talking about, doing what Boston Scientific were talking about, to really undertake a scoping exercise to kickstart or accelerate a digital transformation journey. So this grant is very unique to IDA. In normal terms, we don't provide consultancy support, but this is unique. It's funded under de minimis, and that's relevant in the sense that it's a finite pot that's available over a 3-year period, but there is 300,000 grant aid available at a 50% grant rate to help companies to explore the concept of digital transformation for their site. So who can apply? So it's all IDA clients, so all 1,800 IDA clients that need to develop a strategic digital transformation program. So it really is that simple. The key words are develop, strategic, digital transformation. So it's not really aimed at kind of ad hoc projects here and there. It's really about the kind of the entire site. So encompassing all parts of the business. So really not one little digitalization project over there. It needs to be a kind of a transformational project. And the next slide will explain this in more detail. So you can see here what's covered. So very much what Gael was going through in the last presentation, the various steps as he talked about, looking at the as-is processes, ensuring that you've got the strategic roadmap at the outset, and only then does the digital roadmap come in, looking at all your current systems, looking at what you need to be doing, as you look out into the future, creating that architectural blueprint, creating that technical roadmap. So again, very aligned to what's been discussed already on this seminar. So very, very key from our perspective is that there's also support for the kind of the program management of the transformation project, because as been pointed out before, I can't remember what the percentage you called out there, Gail, but what percentage actually fail. So a very, very high percentage of digital transformation projects fail. So to ensure that doesn't happen, it's very important that you have program management support, kind of change managers, all that kind of stuff. And that's all part of the support that's covered under this grant. So the process itself, it's relatively straightforward. The application form, it's 3 pages. It's available from your account manager in IDA. So that's your project executive, your account manager. And the most important part of that is the middle part here. And it's really about the detail of the project and your chosen consultant. So in the case of this morning, if you're working with IMR, they will focus very clearly on that part of the grant, of the application form. And very important is to kind of outline what you're trying to achieve from this project. So working with your consultant, this part of the project should be relatively straightforward. And then working with your account manager, the other parts of the application form are relatively straightforward. So I suppose that leads me on to kind of the database of service providers, the database of pre-vetted. So we have pre-vetted. We went out into the market looking for the experts so that you don't have to do it, to find who can provide these kind of services. And we pre-vetted 20, a lot more than 25, but we shortlisted to 25 consultants who we feel are able to deliver this service. Again, this database can be provided to you by your account manager. It gives details of the service offer, the skills of each of the service provider, examples of projects they worked on in the past. And obviously, IMR will be very glad to know they are one of the approved providers on this database. So certainly if you're working with IMR, you can be assured that they are one of the approved consultants. So I suppose that leads me to my last slide there. It's a very straightforward grant from an IDA perspective. If you have any questions or you have any, I suppose, questions around the grant support or who your account manager is. If you don't know who that is, contact myself or Breed O'Toole. If you know who your account manager is, you contact them straight away and they will kickstart that project. It's a finite timeline as well. It's kind of till June 2026. So you need to be aware that kind of timelines are tight. So if this is of interest to you, for sure, get started on that conversation with your account manager and we will be more than happy to progress it as soon as possible. Thank you all very much. I am going to hand back to Nick right now for closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Helen, and a special thank you to all the presenters this morning. I think it was great insight to digitalization, digital transformation, as companies, the challenges that are faced, and also the methodologies that are there. Key takeaways that I would see from this is that Ireland is a small open economy and manufacturing companies need to adapt and become more agile, and digital transformation is part of that journey and should be an integral to that journey. Digital transformation is not just about technology, and often that's a fundamental mistake. It is much more about processes and people, and you need to bring people with you. And I think John gave some great examples for digital champions that are being used in the in Boston Group. Also, there's a key role for leadership here. Leaders have to take risks, but part of those risks is also balancing and supporting the transformation program, but also not having short-term but medium-term objectives. And what's key about short-term objectives that if you build momentum in your transformation, then you have a much better likelihood of success. And finally, the last point is to select the right partners. We at IMR have got we've done over 50 SIRI assessments with both multinationals and small and medium enterprise. We have the experience and we have the capability to be able to deliver on such programs, and with the support of IDA as a preferred partner, I think you could do a lot worse than coming to IMR to start your digital transformation journey. With that, I'll hand you back to Gary for some questions.
Thank you very much, Nick. Brilliant stuff. And thank you to Helen, Gail, and John. All brilliant presentations. And John, I love that Darwin quote on it's not the strongest of the species that survive, but the most adaptable to change. I find that becoming more relevant all the time. Okay, so Gail, this one is probably for you, or maybe Nick, but it's, do I have to use SIRI methodology as part of my digital journey?
Yeah, I can take this one. It's preferable that you use a SIRI because, again, it has been proven to work for a lot of companies. It is a process-driven approach. It is also a methodology or a tool that provides you far more than just some of the tools you may see online today, because SIRI is not arguably the only digital maturity assessment tool. However, it brings you more. So absolutely, yeah, it is important to use SIRI. We'll recommend you to use SIRI because it's really process driven. And again, we cover, Nick talk about it, I talk about it, and John talk about it. This is not a technology-led. Most of the assessment you may find will be focusing or concentrating you on the technology. See, the SIRI approach is about the impact, what impact it's going to have in my business. You remember, if I cover the tier framework, we're looking at the impact on your cost profile, the impact on your business objective, and so on. And we cover not just the process, not just the technology, but also the organization. People overlook at the organization, right? So yes, it is recommended to use SIRI.
I'd also like to add, for some companies, what we do is we adapt the SIRI methodology to meet their needs. So primary to it all is looking at where we add value to the organization. and we work with organizations to take them on that journey. And, you know, not every company has got, you know, wants to fit inside a certain framework. So we work and we adapt with people. But to Gail's point, the preferred route is to go through a SIRI process, but we adapt with organizations.
And am I going to just add one thing? You know, I talk about 16 dimension of for the assessment. So when you're using SIRI, right? It's unlikely that, you know, your organization can address those 16 dimension, right? So we're going to help you to prioritize 4 of those dimensions. Therefore, it become a life cycle. You have to go back to SIRI, right? Okay, to reassess once you have implemented and address 4 of those dimensions, which are the next 4 dimensions you want to address. It's a journey. It's not an end. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Nick, and thanks, Gail. John, this one is for you. What are the key learnings from Boston Scientific's digital transformation journey?
I sort of outlined them in the distilled learning, but I suppose if I was to kind of summarize it a little bit, or one of the key things that I would take away, and Gail kind of touched on it there, is about involvement of the sponsors right from the start and bringing up their knowledge and having them immersed in actually deciding where you're going to work. Technology doesn't exist in kind of a department in the corner that you're going to kind of just then suddenly roll out and get advantage of. It's got to be something that the digital transformation path has to be something that's part of your culture from end to end. I think that's the real and I think someone mentioned it there, and I kind of just did a quick Google. You know, McKinsey talk about 70% of digital transformations failing, right? One of the key failings is because they don't have the right level of buy-in and support end to end. And if people don't understand the fundamentals and the fundamentals of what it will gain for the business, and if they don't believe that it will actually gain them for the business, then it's going to fail.
I may add to John. You know, when you're looking at the SIRI and the SIRI framework, and John can talk about it. You know, we, as part of that workshop, we also educating the leaders, right? Yep. Okay, and that's the point. Once the leaders start to be more aware of what is happening, you know, definitely there is more a buy-in to digitalization.
Thanks, John, and thanks, Gail. As an Enterprise Ireland client, can I avail of the same IDA funding?
I'll have a go at that one. I think what Helen outlined is for the IDA clients, but there are similar funding mechanisms for Enterprise Ireland clients, and we're more than happy in IMR to work with those and, you know, help them to get the optimize on their journey and also use whatever funding is available. But I think today we were highlighting the launch of a new fund from IDA, and I think that's really for IDA clients. I don't know if you want to add anything, Helen, or if you're...
That's 100% correct. You must be an IDA client to avail of this funding. But as Nick pointed out, Enterprise Ireland have very significant supports available for these kind of journeys. So by all means, contact your Enterprise Ireland person who would be more than happy to kind of talk you through their supports. But for the purposes of this morning, our grant that we talked about, you must be an IDA client, yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Helen, and thank you, Nick. We have plenty more questions here coming in. If we don't get to your question, we will get back to you via email because we do just have the 7 minutes left. But the next one up here is, if I'm implementing Lean, will this help me implementing digital solutions?
So if I am implementing Lean, will this help me implementing a digital solution? So you have to use, if you're using Lean today, keep on using Lean. Right. Okay. Lean could work in parallel to the digital transformation journey. So Lean journey, they are complementary. You remember, one of the building block of digital transformation is process, right? And Lean is all about addressing your process, right? Okay. So if you implement Lean, you will definitely play some level of improvement to your system on therefore helping with your digital journey. I hope I answer to that question clearly.
Yeah, I can add to it. Your lean journey is really all about identifying waste. It's eliminating waste. Typically, you're also then going to a Six Sigma program where you're going to reduce variation. These are all exactly aligned and kind of helps you to get to the point of where you can implement a digital transformation. You really only want to digitize processes that add value. So you don't want to digitize processes that add no value. And we're working with clients where they are very much have implemented a lean journey, and then they go on their digital journey to really capitalize on what they've done on the lean. So they're very much complementary.
Thank you, guys. Okay, Helen, I think this one could be for you. For IDA Ireland, how is data managed, protected during the project period? In big companies, is it sensitive to share the manufacturing data? So sorry, in big companies, it is sensitive, not is it?
Yeah, I mean, if I understand the question correctly, we don't need or will see any of that manufacturing data. So that's between yourself and your consultant. We're just looking for a report, a project description, a project output. And I probably should add that we are subject to the official State Secret Act. So we have more data than you could possibly imagine and more confidential data that is, it's mind-boggling at times. So thankfully, over our 75 years existence, data leakages have never been an issue. So, but yeah, we don't need to see the kind of the intricacies of the data itself.
Perfect. And just touch wood on that one as well.
Yeah, and there's another question just there, Gary, on the funding. So Eddie O'Neill, yes, you did hear it's up to 50% funding, maximum grant of 300,000. So that's maximum expenditure of 600,000 at 50% funding. So it's a very generous funding. We generally speaking don't give up to 50%, but it just kind of shows how important this journey and this kind of digital transformation journey is from IDA's clients, that we're kind of putting our money where our mouth is, I suppose.
Great stuff. Thanks, Helen.
And there's another IDA question. Do you want me to take them all?
Yeah.
Can a startup company be part of IDA and get funding? If a startup company is owned by Irish people, if it's an Irish indigenous company, it cannot be an IDA client. An IDA client needs to have an international parent. Otherwise, you belong to the Enterprise Ireland family of, I suppose, clients. So that's, we generally speaking they need to be in existence for a certain amount of time. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, I think that'll do. So if you are a startup an indigenous to Ireland, then you're more likely to be Enterprise Ireland. But as Nick had alluded to earlier, there are supports there available for you as well. A question on SIRI. So using SIRI, what are the most common gaps you've found in similar manufacturing companies in Ireland? And can you walk us through the typical process and time commitment for a SIRI assessment? Gail, this is probably you. I'll get a quick answer from you, and Ronan, we can follow up with a further discussion if it's needed.
Yeah. So the common gap, so when we're looking at the 16 dimension on, we're running the algorithm, one of the common gap is the leadership competency, right? Okay. Leader are somehow informed, right? Okay, but they are not comfortable in leading innovation, as I mentioned. The other gap that I see is, people want their shop floor to be intelligent. However, a lot of those shop floor are not connected, right? Machines are in standalone and they're not connected to anything. So a lot of people are starting to be more familiar about operation technology, OT, right? And this is a gap where you may be mastering the IT side of it, but not necessarily mastering the OT side of it. So one of the things that I think it's very important from a gap standpoint is looking at developing your operation technology or your OT architecture, and start to look at what connectivity do you need and what kind of data do you want from your machine, right? Okay, not all data are good from your machine. There's a lot of garbage, but those will be that kind of 2-3 dimension that lag behind a lot of all other dimension, right? Okay, shop floor intelligence, leadership competency, and then from a process standpoint, in more vertical integration. How do I integrate my enterprise to my shop floor, right? Okay, and again, I mentioned earlier. In terms of the process, very quickly, we have 1 minute. It's a day-and-a-half workshop with all the leaders, and we want all the leaders. We want to hear the voice, and we want the voice to be shared across everybody on the true alignment. It's a day-and-a-half workshop at your site. We have there is 2 e-learning training before in preparation to come to the workshop. Excuse me. And then there is a report debriefing, which is an hour debriefing.
Thanks, Gael. Yeah, we are just out of time. We have more questions there. We will get back to you by email. We'll follow up. So thank you again to John, to Helen, Nick, and Gael for joining us this morning and giving the great presentations. And for now, we'll leave it there. So I told you we'd be out at 11. It's 1 minute past. I hope that's okay. Go out, enjoy the weather, and I hope to see you all soon.